Hello, and today we're going to talk about Wingspan, which is a game that soared into the hotness charts earlier in the year, and it's caused a great deal of buzz and excitement, ruffling feathers, and basically it's a game that a lot of people have asked, should I let this perch on my game shelf? Well, let's find out. Now, when opening up the box, the first thing you're likely to notice when you pick up these wonderful booklets is just how high quality they are. They are made with a beautiful linen paper, just really, really lovely. And I have ranted about linen finish in many a video. I'm not a fan of it, but here it's been done right. Beautiful quality, fantastic design, beautiful colours. Everything is vibrant. Now this is a sort of tableau action selection engine building game, and it's got a nice little bit here about your victory points. Basically, you get victory points for the birds you play, meeting your secret goal, scoring end of round objectives, and also for every card or token or egg under or on your card, you also get a point as well. Now, the actual card structure is shown quite well here. You've got a habitat that your bird likes to live in, its food requirements to actually play it, its victory points indicated by this feather, its nest type, how many eggs it can store, its common name, its Latin name, a nice beautiful illustration, its wingspan. This section here is where powers can be, and then a location and a little bit of fact about the actual bird. And depending on the card, you could have a brown strip, a pink strip, or the clear bit that I showed you just now. Then you've got food types, so invertebrates, seeds, fish, fruit and rodents, and then just generic, and your habitat is forest, grassland and wetland, so an expansion could bring mountains or desert. And as you see, it walks you through beautifully, including platform, bowl, cavity and ground nesting, and then wild as well. And yeah, just really well laid out, and then talks about the end game and bird powers, etc. So you actually get 3 booklets. You get a rules booklet, an appendix and an automata. And then inside your box you're actually going to get 4 trays. You actually need 5 though, but I've got some extra of these trays, and they're wonderful little trays, but they are a bit of a pain to get open, so not a fan of them from that point of view. And you've got your various food resources. You've got beautiful wooden eggs, marker tokens, which are the least impressive bit in the box, to be honest. Lovely chunky tactile dice, some end of round objective tokens, a lovely card holder. Anyway, let's get this out so you can have a better look at it. So at the start of the game, we're going to have 3 cards already exposed for us to pick from. You're going to get 2 secret objective cards. So I could pick to have birds that live in wetlands. I'm going to get 3 points for up to 4 birds, 7 points for having 5. Alternatively, I could just have cards in hand, in which case I would want a card drawing engine. And if I get 5 to 7 birds in my hand, I get 4 points, 7 points. So whilst that's quite tempting, I might be better off doing the wetlands. But interestingly enough, both wetlands and card drawing is more or less the same thing. So it's a question of what do I want to do. So to make my decision, I need to look at my 5 cards I start with. Well, I've got 3 wetland cards, so maybe I'd get rid of these 2 cards and keep these 3. Now the problem with doing that is you start with 1 of each of the food types, but that means to keep these 3 cards I'd have to spend 3 food, leaving me with just 2 food, and all of these birds require 2 or 3 food. Well, to be honest, so do these, so I've got a bit of a problem there. So maybe I do keep these. Maybe I decide that one is no good. Yeah, so let's say I do that. So I would throw these 3 away and keep 3 of my food. But I also need to be paying attention to the end of round board. So here, ground nesting birds with an egg on are going to score me a point. Birds in a platform nest, birds in water, birds in grassland. So I might want to pick my starting hand based on both my secret objectives and also these round markers. So I'm going to go with wetland scientist and bin the other objective. I then need to set up my player board. Now my player board, when you get out of the box, is this lovely faux leather looking journal, which tactile, that almost everything in this game either looks beautiful or feels beautiful, and it's really, really lovely. Now the actual player board, across the top you've got the option to play a bird. Underneath you can gain food, lay eggs, or draw bird cards. So you've got 4 actions to pick from, and as you go across here you'll see there are different effects. So the first row, or column I should say, the first column, if you're playing a bird card to the first column, you don't need an egg. To the second and third you need a single egg, and for the final 2 you need 2 eggs. So to advance your birds across here, you're going to need more and more eggs. So down at the bottom here, let's say I'm going to play that card there. That costs me no eggs. But to play this card here, I'm going to need to have an egg. So to get eggs, I'm going to have to do this action. So you're going to be limited by what you can do each turn. And you do that via these action tokens, which, as I say, are the most disappointing component in the box. And these are still pretty lovely. But basically, you start off with 8 of these, but at the end of each round you will score the end round bonus. So you'll be taking one of your cubes and placing it here. So you'll start with 8, then next round you have 7, next round you have 6, and in the final round you end up with just 5 of these action cubes, which means you have to really build this engine here, otherwise you're going to have trouble. Now when it comes to drawing cards, that's done via the wetland, and as you can see, you can discard an egg to get extra cards, and as you build up your power, you can ultimately end up with 3 eggs, and there is a bit across to the side which you can choose to activate as well. If you fill up all of these slots when you choose this action, 3 cards, discard an egg to get a card. Above it's 2 with a discard, 3 with a discard, 4 with a discard, and then the very top option is get 1 food, discard a card to get a second, 2 food with a discard, 3 food, and 3 food with a discard. Now the way the dice work is they determine your food types. Let's have a look at them. Now, the game does come with a rather lovely kind of bird feeder dice tower, which I'm not using, but these are the faces that you've got for the different food types. But there is also sort of a wild food type here, but this, although it contains a seed and a worm, doesn't count as a seed and a worm from the point of view of a dice re-rolling rule. It counts as its own dice face. But what it allows you to do is when you pick this, you can either have a seed or a worm or an invertebrate. But as I said, when you get down to, let's say, this is what you rolled and everyone's taken all these, well, if you don't want fish, because there's only the fish type of dice, you can pick up these dice plus the discarded dice and just re-roll all of them. But if you took the 2 fish, you couldn't do that here because you got 2 invertebrate and then this wild dice. But if you were to take that wild dice away, then you could re-roll these. Or alternatively, if you'd rolled 2 wild and someone took away the invertebrate, then you could re-roll these. So there is a little rules wrinkle there, which is a little bit complex. But basically, when you're rolling your food dice, that's the sort of food that is available. If you ever get to the stage where all the dice show just one face, and that's not the food type you want, you can re-roll them. But there is also another little rule, which is up here when you're playing a bird. Discard any 2 food types to count as any 1 food type. So when you're playing your bird cards, obviously you need to have enough eggs to be able to, have your bird hatch. But equally, you also need to have the right food type. So for example, to play this card, I'm going to need a seed and a bug. And here I'm going to need a seed, a berry, and any food type. So what I'm probably going to want to do, if I was to keep these 2 cards as my final cards, I would only have 3 food types. So maybe I'd play that first because it's a harder card to get into play, but then I would have to go out and get myself some food. But because I'd gone in the water, let's move this back here, so let's pop this in here. So that's in there. So not only am I going to need an egg, but I'm going to need these 2 food types, but I've not optimized my food engine yet. So these are the sort of tricky decisions that you're going to have And it's much more, I guess, tactical than strategic. You have to adjust as you're on the fly. You know, where do I want to put it? Do I want this card or this card? Maybe I'd prefer this card, because although it's tricky to get into play, it's worth 8 victory points, but it can only hold 2 eggs, whereas this can hold 4. So this could be worth 11 points, whereas this might only be worth 10 points. You know, do I prefer this activation power or that activation power? You know, what's my secret goal? What are the short-term round goals? What are my opponents doing? So although it's a very simple game where there's just 4 actions, it becomes a bit more complex. Now, let's say I've actually gone with this. Let's have a look at how that works. Now, in my hypothetical play, let's say I've played this card. Well, this is a when played card, so because I've played it, I would automatically activate this when played game 3. But if I was instead activating this space here, I'd put my little token here, I'd draw 2 cards, I'd then move my disc across to the left, read this and choose whether or not I want to activate it. Once I'd done that, I'd move this across, choose whether I want to activate this, and then that would be me done, and I'd put my little cube over on the left here. So you always put it in the, you know, the first free spot on the right, and then slowly go down the row. So up here I'd get 3 eggs, no power to activate, no power to activate, done. Down here, activate, potentially activate, potentially activate. Now what's interesting is you'll notice this is pink, and this is once between turns, so I tend to just mark it with a cube to say it's been activated. When another player plays a forest bird, gain a invertebrate from the supply. So these pink powers only trigger on other players' turns, and as I say, I tend to mark them just to say, yeah, that's been activated. Now down here, as you can see, when you activate, tuck a card from your hand behind this bird. If you do, also lay an egg on this card. So this is quite good at basically, you know, allowing you to tuck a card. So let's say I've got this card here. I'm never going to play it. I would just tuck it under, so that's 1 victory point. But because it also lays an egg, that's 2 victory points. So this card, although it's worth 4 initially, if you can ladle it up with stuff, like you can put 3 cards under and 3 eggs on top, no trouble. So this card would actually be worth 10 victory points at the end of the game without too much trouble if you're activating your card drawing engine, which of course works with this card and also my other secret objective. But of course, by tucking cards under, I'm taking them out of my hand, so that's one reason why I preferred this option. Now, having done that, I'd move along here. All players draw a card from the deck, so yeah, that helps me, but it also helps my opponents. So there you go. That's just a very quick look at the game. What I've got to say about it is that the production quality is absolutely top notch. The eggs come in beautiful sort of pastel colours, including this lovely sort of duck egg blue effect. They feel great. The cubes, the most disappointing component, they're great. The cards are beautiful, you know, linen cards done correctly. The deck insert is great. I think it can even take sleeve cards. The little lid is also a card holder for the 3 cards that are face up, so when players are drawing cards, they can take a face up card or a blind card from the deck. The wooden dice, clear, chunky, lovely tactile feel. These player boards just feel great. The rules book, great. I mean, everything about this game is absolutely top notch, and the game is not that expensive if you get it at official retail. Now, you do need to watch out for people selling it at £60 plus on eBay and Amazon. That, I think the game's not worth that sort of money. But if you're picking out for its retail price, which is under £50, then yeah, I think it's a worthwhile purchase. Basic rules, but with lots of complex little decisions to do. Some cards work off Wingspan, some cards work off eggs, some cards work off food or tucking cards. Being a sort of card-driven deck tableau building engine, drawing cards is quite powerful, but if all you do is draw cards, you're neglecting getting eggs, which means you can't play those cards, and of course you're also not getting the food that you need to play those cards. Eggs are worth points, cards are worth points, so yeah, lots of stuff going on. So it fits nicely into that KISS idea of keep it simple, where the core fundamentals are basic, and it's easy to expand with extra cards and extra expansions of different bird types, because this is primarily Northern American birds. So it'd be nice to see Australasian birds, African birds, European birds featuring more. That means they could also mix up the powers, maybe bring in some crunch for, like it scores different points based on the amount of eggs on it, or although it gets eggs on it, you have to move those eggs off, and but they got to try and keep it thematic, because most of the cards do feel fairly thematic, and there's 170 birds, I want to say, so lots of variation already in the box. And yeah, I mean, what else can you say about it? There is one thing I haven't talked about, which is the AI. So you've got this little round tracker sheet, and then you've got this random deck which flips over, and in round 1, round 2, round 3 and round 4, the fairly basic AI kicks in and does its own thing, and can be quite tough to beat. I do know Rado did a demonstration playthrough where he played against the AI, and it's pretty mean. It did occasionally really challenge him and force him into making errors while he tried to beat the AI. But yeah, I mean, it's a great game, great components, and I can see it being very popular. And Rado predicted in 2018 that this could be the game of the year in 2019, and I think he could be right. It has definitely soared up the charts, and yeah, lots of people have really got excited by this. And I think it's the production quality, the artwork, the gameplay all works really well together. Tom from Dice Tower loves it as well. I've yet to see a really negative review. Now, some people have said maybe it's a little bit simple, maybe it's a little bit 4 or 5 player solo. The last round often feels like a big push for egg laying, but I can see another strategy to be card drawing, so you can tuck cards. So there are all sorts of variations, I think, that could really see you developing different short-term strategies and goals, and to maximise your victory points. And of course, what really will mix it up is these tiles here. Now, I've drawn a lot of tiles here with egg laying, but there are some other tiles which are talking about most birds and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that could really mix it up. Anyway, let's get this back in the box and ready for my game that I hope to have on Saturday. I'm really looking forward to getting this back to the table and hopefully try out at 4 player. I do wonder, with a lot of headspace activity, trying to work out what you want to do, the more players you have, the longer the game's going to take, and the slower and more grindy it could be, and also the more chance of pink powers triggering. But yeah, I think it's great. I've got these extra tiles for goals. You've got these beautiful colours for various player pawns. You can replace these with 3D printed bird parts if you really want to, so you can match these lovely eggs which come in several colours, so green, pink, brown and white as well. Yeah, really good, top recommendation. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that very quick look at Wingspan, and until the next video, happy gaming.